Welcome to the first episode of Secret Staples, the show where I show you, well, secret staples, underplayed removal, card draw, mana ramp, and yes, board wipes that need to see more play. Today I've got some board wipes that have managed to go under the radar when the potential for staplehood is strong with these. Up first is Planar Collapse from Urza's Legacy, with its lowest price printing being from the list for 24 cents, ran in 1,966 decks on EDH Rec. Planar Collapse is 1 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more creatures in play, wipe the board. They can't be regenerated. Yowza. The ruling on this is a bit foggy, but I believe you can bounce this to your hand in response to the trigger checking for if you have creatures and not have to sack the enchantment, keep it, and wipe the board. Not 100% on that. Help me out in the comments if I'm wrong. Other than that, it's an extremely cheap board wipe that can be brought back with cards like Sun Titan, which is pretty cool. Sickening Dreams is next, which reminds me of when I'd fall asleep in first period and then fall down the stairs in my dream, and then I'd be at my desk like this. Shit sucks. What was I talking about? Oh, Sickening Dreams from Torment, which at its lowest price printing was from the pre-con deck Graveborn for 56 cents, ran in 3,706 decks on EDH Rec. Sickening Dreams is 1 and a black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to play Sickening Dreams, discard X cards from your hand. Sickening Dreams deals X damage to each creature and each player. If you draw a lot, this seems great, but also in a Reanimator or Graveyard deck, this seems even better. Ditch 3 or 4 big fatties to the graveyard, wipe the board for some stuff to recur. Also, just ditch 1 card and wipe all the tokens. For 2 mana, this thing seems great. Rampaging War Mammoth is next from Lord of the Rings Commander for 14 cents, ran in 1,151 decks on EDH Rec. Rampaging War Mammoth is 5 and 2 red for a 9/7 trample, cycle for X, a 2 and a red. When you cycle it, destroy up to X target artifacts. Keep in mind, cycling speed is instant speed, and draws you a card, and it doubles as a late game beater. Let me explain to you how powerful this card is. I am a ridiculous introvert and a hermit to the point where I rarely even talk to my closest friends, which is something I gotta work on, yes. It's also been a solid couple months since I've talked to 2 of my closest friends, and within 1 day, both of them sent me a picture of this card with a question mark next to it. Question mark indeed, boys. This thing is nutty. Rampaging Mammoth brings bonds together and board wipes bobbles. Gotta love it. Spreading Plague from Invasion is $5.27 and ran in 1,946 decks on EDH Rec. Spreading Plague is 4 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, destroy all other creatures that share a color with it. They can't be regenerated. This destroys creature-based mono decks, or 2-color decks. And like our guy Zach Kelly over on YouTube says, this is great versus Indestructible, and if you build an artifact-based deck that runs this card, have fun. Bantu's Last Reckoning is next from Hour of Devastation for 51 cents and ran in 3,944 decks on EDH Rec. Bantu's Last Reckoning is 1 and 2 black for a sorcery, destroy all creatures, lands you control don't untap during your next untap, but does have a fairly drastic downside. You could counter this downside with cards like Seedborn Muse if you wanted, or in a sticky situation, this thing can get Dark Ritualed out, so I guess that's it. You could also run Hive Mind and tap everyone's lands if you're literally insane for some reason. Void from Invasion had its lowest price printing in Time Spiral Time Shifted for 18 cents and is ran in 647 decks on EDH Rec. Void is 3 a black and a red for a sorcery. Choose a number, destroy all artifacts and creatures with the mana cost equal to the chosen number. Then target player reveals their hand and discards all non-land cards with mana value equal to the chosen number. This thing says nah to treasures and token decks, while also being a way to target specific threats on board and in hand. I think this is great. And the old artwork, oh, it's a robot camel, sick. Sorry. Echoing Truth is next and is one of my favorite overall performers in all my decks. It would also make a great name for a news channel. It boggles my mind that this only is in 6,680 decks on EDH Rec. Echoing Truth dropped in Darksteel and had its lowest printing in Commander 2019. Echoing Truth is 1 and a blue for an instant, return target non-land permanent and all cards with the same name as that card to their owner's hands. Buy treasures, buy tokens. It can also just be used as spot removal. I love this thing. Wave of Vitriol is next. Or its rough Japanese translation, you are my planet, and I am just a moon to you. And those are BTS lyrics. Very funny, editor. Very funny. From Commander 2014, had its lowest price printing in Commander anthologies for $1.09. Wave of Vitriol is 5 and 2 green for a sorcery. Each player sacrifices all artifacts, enchantments, and non-basic lands they control. For each land destroyed this way, its controller searches their library for a basic land and puts it into play tapped. Getting rid of all 3 card types with a sacrifice to get around Indestructible seems great, especially if you're in a lands matter deck, because you'll be able to tutor up a bunch of lands, get a bunch of landfall triggers, put a bunch of lands in your graveyard. Lastly, we've got Impact Resonance from Commander 2014, not to be confused with Slim Pack Measurements. I have no idea why you would ever confuse those two, but just in case. For 46 cents, ran in 3,721 decks on EDH Rec. Impact Resonance is 1 and a red for an instant. Impact Resonance deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures where X is equal to the greatest amount of damage dealt by a source to an opponent or permanent this turn. This card's wild. If you take nothing away from this video, take away that for 46 cents, you could pick up a copy of this crazy card. This at instant speed, for one, crazy. And it doesn't have to be a source you control. Someone at the table could just smack someone for 10, and then for 2 mana, you have a one-way board wipe. A little 4/4 double striker blocks another creature and does 8 damage to it. 2 mana, deal 8 damage divided. Not to even mention if you're just the Gruul Timmy deck smacking face. Someone's deck at the table will turn this card on. And for this cheap, this little mana, at an instant speed, yes please. Let me know about some secret staples you know about. And go play some Magic, guys.